Hello, it's Dr. Pat with Little Critters, and we have a beautiful Schneiders skink with us today. And this little girl has a problem, so we'll show you that in just a minute. But in general, Schneiders skinks should be kept separately because they do get stressed when they're housed with other skinks. They can be very territorial. And this little girl is about 8 years old now, and the owner brought her in because she noticed that her toes were bloody. And if you look closely, hold on, little one. As you can see, she's very active and very busy. Here, there. Sassy. So you can see we have little bloody stubs on many of our toes, and we've lost a lot of the ends of toes and the toenails. The owner was concerned about possible retained shed, but we don't see any retained shed on here, and the owner is reporting that what this little girl tends to do pretty much all day, every day, is glass dance. And she tries to climb on the edges of the cage and try to dig out of the enclosure. And this is more than likely stress because she is kept with another skink. She has put up visual barriers, and she still does do this through the visual barrier. And so we're concerned that she's actually traumatizing her toes as she's climbing constantly and trying to get away and get out. The owner, when she noticed this, did remove her to a separate enclosure, and she has pretty much stopped the behavior in the new enclosure. So what we're doing today is wound care for these feet, and we're going to see if we have exposed bone, because there's some of them where we've lost a substantial amount of toe here. And then get her started on some topical wound care, an antibiotic and an anti-inflammatory, and then just a basic health check. The other thing to note with this little girl is her tail. So if you look, this should be a nice straight tail, and the owner did get her from someone else who had raised her, and apparently she was raised without any UV light. And more than likely this was due to metabolic bone disease, where she didn't have the UV that her body uses to make vitamin D. Vitamin D is then used to take calcium from the gut and make bones. And without that, they start breaking their bones, and we'll get the scoliosis and the changes in the spine or the tail. This is an old wound. It's not something that's active or currently a problem, but very common in reptiles without adequate UV, calcium, or both. So you always need to ensure that you understand the needs of your particular reptile, do your research before you get them, and then supply those needs. So as I said, skinks shouldn't be kept with other skinks in general. These guys in particular are pretty territorial. They also need higher heat, so basking light is 100 to 105. Low end is about mid to upper 80s. It can go cooler at night. And then we also need some higher humidities with a moist shed hide. So usually sphagnum moss in a hide that's kept moist all the time for shedding. Typically they're bedded on sand and topsoil. In Arizona, it's very dry here, so you can spray the topsoil to try to increase the humidity. You should have a hygrometer to measure the humidity, and then also obviously measure the temperatures for them. And then calcium supplementation is also needed. They are somewhat of an omnivore. They will eat greens, but they really like insects, and her diet is primarily insects, and that's pretty typical for these little ones. But wonderful lizards. Skinks in general can be great pets. They can have long lives, but we need to know their care and make sure we provide the basic needs for them.